We often use the word historic when referring to the North Wilkesboro Speedway.
It's even more true than you might already know. The track's role in launching NASCAR is well documented.
What's not as well known, its connection to moonshine. WFMY News 2's Hunter Funk dug through the Speedway's secrets.
For a county that's pretty quiet, there is one place creating a lot of noise. And it's not the racing, but rather the discovery of a possible moonshine cave found at North Wilkesboro Speedway.
We got into the hole and actually started researching and looking. There was things underneath there that you normally wouldn't see underneath just a dirt-filled bank that concrete's on. There's some columns, there's a back wall. Those things make those stories start to come into fruition.
It is said racing got its start because illegal moonshiners would run from the feds. Speedway officials say they heard stories about how an old moonshine still was operated under the grandstands. While no still was found, it's revving up debate between the locals.
We heard a lot of folklore over the years and stuff, and I've heard there's a still at the track.
It was just erosion from, drainage problems. It wasn't a cave there.
I never heard about a cave.
The alleged moonshine cave at North Wilkesboro Speedway has gained a lot of people's attention. But when it comes to the real hidden history, they're about 600 feet off target.
Lived at North Wilkesboro Speedway for 72 years.
This is Dean Combs.
My dad bought his part of Speedway in 1952. He built his house in 1952. And the first night they stayed in that house, I was 3 days old.
He lives down the hill from the Speedway, and his roots run deep.
Know a lot of stories, some I shouldn't tell, some doesn't matter. But
his uncle was the Charlie Combs.
My Uncle Charlie Combs was a very innovative person. That was my daddy's older brother. And he was always trying to develop something. He was the one that actually developed North Wilkesboro Speedway.
His mom's side made the illegal liquor.
They were all moonshiners. They were all went to prison for moonshine. I don't think she had a brother that didn't go to prison. I think there was 8 brothers. I don't think she had a brother that didn't go to prison for moonshine.
His dad sold sugar to moonshiners and was also a racer.
My dad was racing up here, and he actually turned over. And my mom was in the grandstands, and she was pregnant with me. She said she thought I was going to be born in the grandstands.
Racing ran in the family.
Won 60 races in a 5-year period and 5 national championships. We were just good old hard-working country boys that just like to have fun. Well, I was pretty wild when I was a kid.
And so did making moonshine.
In 1973 is the first time I got caught. Yeah, right up on that hill, first moonshine I still had, about right behind that trailer right there at the top of the hill. I was 20 years old, turned 21.
That wasn't the last time he'd get caught.
And I got busted twice, got busted again in 2013. They kept it quiet, so that's when I quit. They said, you don't want us to come back.
Combs is a walking historian.
When you grew up, those were everywhere, right?
Oh yeah, 44, everybody had a 44 back in my younger days, yeah.
He's lived through the time that historians themselves consider a boom in the economy.
The heyday for Wilkes County was from like the late 1930s to like the 1960s, 1950s is when it kind of started to taper off. But that's when we were known as like the moonshine capital of the world.
Wilkes Heritage Museum's Eden Hamby says the moonshine trade generated about $2 million for the economy for the county.
We were the #1 based on the stills that were busted by the ATF agents. So we were #1.
The reason it's so common is streams like these, hidden by trees, made for the perfect place to distill alcohol under the moonlight.
All the moonshine operations themselves would have to be next to a body of running cool water because when it goes through the worm the second time after it's re-evaporated during the process, you have to cool it back down so it turns back into a liquid.
Several rivers circle the Speedway, and that is where you find the hidden history.
Mostly around this section, there were a lot of moonshiners. There's probably not a stream or a creek that there wasn't a moonshine still on. I mean, you could walk, when I was a kid, you could walk and see the wooden barrels of the stuff.
You know, when we're looking at all these different houses that are just placed all over, 90% of them were probably moonshiners?
90% of them probably, most of the people, the families that's still here in this section, it's not been much sold around here at all.
And if you follow a stream, you might just find some remnants of blown up stills, broken moonshine glasses, or rusted metal. Combs says it's a way of life and one he's proud to be a part of.
I guess you'd say I live the Wilkes County dream, from moonshine to racing, I've had a very fortunate life.
Now, as for the alleged moonshine cave at the Speedway, he doesn't believe it to be true based on the life he's lived.
I had an uncle that lived a half a mile down the road. And he had a distillery in his basement, had it in there for 13 years. And he would take his mash and bring it up here and spread it around the speedway, so it always smelled like there was a distillery in that place if you came by. And that was the theory everybody always read. I think the ATF or whatever looked and looked and looked and tried to find one. They never could find nothing inside that speedway. And you know, they were smart enough, if there was something underground, they would have found it.
We'll leave that up to you to decide. In Wilkes County, Hunter Funk, WFMY News 2.